hold on. And 3, 2, 1.
It's Danny and Fred, little Crip Trip podcast.
This podcast contains strong language and adult themes that may not be suitable for all audiences. This podcast takes place in Calgary, Alberta. It was recorded in the Crip Trip RV.
Hello, Crips and Criminals. Welcome to the first ever Crip Trip podcast. We're here in Calgary, Alberta with Erin Novakowski, noted influencer and magnanimous individual who puts up with our bullshit. I'm joined here with Frederick Kroetsch, ally, fellow shit disturber, and we limped our way here last night after breaking down and got thoroughly roasted by our social media manager, Erin Novakowski. So thank you for that.
That's what I get paid to do.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm living.
Yeah.
I'm alive.
Yeah,
That's all I can ask for.
We didn't keep you waiting too long in this sweltering heat?
Yeah. I've melted. Probably never walk again.
Happens to the best of us, right, Fred?
Yeah.
Can you relate? You can relate to that, Fred?
No, I'm able.
You're able? Say it again.
I'm able-bodied.
With your head down?
I'm an able-bodied person.
And more shame?
She should be a director.
She's
doing a better job than I do 90%.
I can't win. But we are here we need to name this RV. It needs a name.
True.
Do you have any suggestions that we should take into account?
No, I'm just a visitor. I'm just a guest. This is your guys' baby, so.
It's very hot in here.
I got a couple ideas. Do you want to hear them?
I absolutely do.
Roxanne.
Roxanne, okay.
Because she's a working girl. And at night we put out the red lights to do photo developing. So do you have any recommendations for names, Fred?
I need to think about that. None of the names I'm coming up with are appropriate for a podcast.
So, fair enough. You know, you got to workshop things.
Evelyn.
Yeah, okay.
What if you named her Erin?
Oh, yeah.
Just because I'm cool.
I'm not opposed to it.
Okay, well, then
Your
it's
name
settled.
carries weight, so,
Yeah,
you
true.
know, it would be recognizable.
So many jokes that I
Please.
can't say right now.
Well, say them.
No,
Come on, try.
I'm not going to. Something about being inside you. I'm sorry, that's inappropriate. But, I'm just saying, it's funny. Where are you? We're inside Erin right now. It's just weird to name it Erin. That's it.
Okay, yeah, I'm now
It
opposed
was
to
a
this
joke.
Sorry.
It was only a joke, okay, Fred? So don't be gross.
For the record, I said I wasn't going to say it, and you asked.
For the
So,
record, Fred is a...
For IDV, she called him a pervert.
I called him a pervert.
There you go. All right, so we wanted to talk to a bunch of people with disabilities about different important issues. And one thing I really wanted to address is this idea of milestones in your life, right? And, the prospect of missing milestones, whether it's like moving out of your parents' house or going to all these house parties and just like the general lag time that people with disabilities have. Did you ever experience anything like that when you were in high school?
Yeah, all the time, constantly. I mean, I'm literally still experiencing it right now because I'm a fifth-year student, and I watched myself work just as hard as everyone else for my first 4 years of my degree, and then everyone that I started with graduated, and then I had a whole identity crisis over it. But yeah, high school, for sure, that was probably the first time that I started noticing it, because it was, relevant in my everyday social life. But yeah, even just house parties. Nobody has... It seems like nobody wants to get up off their ass and make an accessible party.
Yeah.
So it's just a little frustrating.
Well, and especially when we were growing up, I think it's a little bit different now. But we were so invisibilized that people just didn't anticipate inviting people with disabilities because they didn't see them, right? Yeah. So it's this self-reinforcing cycle of the thing is inaccessible, so we don't show up, so people don't make it accessible because they think disabled people don't even exist.
Exactly.
But exactly like you, I took 7 years doing my college degree, and I did an honors degree. So I watched my cohort go off and then do a master's and start a PhD in the time I was just finishing up. Yeah. So you do have that anxiety of am I doing enough? And the constant drive of Western culture to be I need to be producing, I'm lagging, what am I doing? I don't have a family yet.
I remember we had a farm party, a pretty crazy farm party, and Danny and Jer came to it. And I think
Jared's my cousin.
And his and caregiver and stuff, and we were there, and I think it was the first time you'd left your house overnight or something, and I was I'm honored. This is a really good thing to have come to, because it was crazy. But I was like, what? That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom that. You
Yeah,
know what
like,
I mean?
the first time you overnight anywhere, right? There's so many access considerations. Even getting out to the farm party, right? I was bringing my manual chair. I didn't bring my power chair. This was before we even had like accessible vehicles to like really make ease, and like before accessible vehicles were a thing you could rent, right? And that wasn't that long ago, you know. Like that was
6, 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
9 years.
Near the beginning of our hanging out.
Beginning of our, not even a friendship?
Oh, no,
cool.
we were friends.
We were friends, and we were
The beginning of our hanging out.
or of whatever this is. I don't want to name this.
It was. What?
You were friends?
Just-
Yeah, we were friends.
Well, that's true.
Do you guys
we
need a
were
moment?
friends.
Do
I
you-
don't know where we are now.
Do you guys need a moment to work it out on the remix? Sorry, that was a pop culture reference that you probably wouldn't understand. Work it out on the remix.
That's a Chapel Roan song.
No.
It's a Chapel XCX song.
Chapel
Alexa?
XCX, nice.
Sorry.
How
Jojo Siwa. You know the girl who invented gay pop music?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, JoJo. There you go.
JoJo.
You got one.
Sorry.
You're sorry to
I'm old.
everyone.
But yeah, so like Fred, when did you move out of your parents' house?
Oh, like when I went to university, so I don't know.
So
I was
like immediately.
Yeah, I don't know, 17 or whatever.
Okay.
And where we were living in Montreal was probably the least accessible place in Canada. It was all tiny walk-ups with tiny little rooms. Like, but again, I didn't know anybody who had a disability, so I never thought about that sort of thing.
Well, and I like to illustrate a point, right? Like, you know, so you went to Concordia, right? So you moved cities at
Yep.
like 17. You know, you moved into a college dorm. You know, and then what was the lifestyle like when you were there, right?
It was intense.
Yeah, it was a lot of partying.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we have this, you know, we've been shut out of the culture just due to like access, like just wrought iron access, being able to like get into an apartment building, a house, and you know, even the prospect of traveling. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, I didn't do grad school, was because I'm like, okay, all of the schools I want to go to are in different cities, but like I can't get divorced from my family because they're 90% of my care. And, you know, to the point where the provinces don't even communicate. So getting care work in another province is exceptionally difficult, right? You need to get on their health program before they even start paying for it. So the barriers to even contemplate doing that were so mind-blowing that it kind of killed the prospect of grad school. Because so much of grad school was shotgun your resumes across North America and just go to wherever accepts you, right? So I know you're on the tail end of your degree right now. Are you thinking of doing grad school or stuff like that? Or have you seen any changes? You're in there a little bit
I mean,
after I am.
no, in terms of like moving cities, like I think for sure, the actual like post-secondary institutions are probably more accessible than like they were 5 years ago. But like the prospect of me to move anywhere else is like so like insanely overwhelming that like it's not even like a feasible option. And that's really sad because like when I started school was always like my favorite thing. I love school. I had like a little like Gilmore Girls, Rory Gilmore dream. I was gonna like go to Harvard
Harvard or Yale.
Yeah, like literally, like, and I was like researching schools like way back in high school, and I started at like a different country. Like, wow, look at this amazing school. And then I like realized like, yeah, there's no fucking way that that's gonna happen. Then I like scaled down, and I was like, maybe BC, I could move one province over. You know, like it's still Canada. I got into the school, but it wasn't possible because there was like, unless I took 3 years of my life to plan my first year of university, it wasn't going to happen. And then I thought maybe within the province, but a different town. I got into that school too. I couldn't go because actually that one I really stuck to for a while. And I took it to like a transition meeting. They had like a transition services with, I don't know what the fuck her job was. An
Yeah,
OT
so some
probably.
kind of social worker or occupational
Yeah.
therapist that is there to assess you, to help you
Yeah.
plan for whatever future you want to
So,
build.
and I was so prepared. I had all these like information. I had information about the accessibility of the dorms in Edmonton, like where I could live, like what the accessibility, like I had already contacted the accessibility office in Edmonton, things like that. I came there and I immediately told her this, and I think, like, I'm quite sure that like her, as well as my parents, like, I came in and I was like, so like I want to talk about like moving to Edmonton for school, and I'm pretty sure they all laughed. Like they were like, oh yeah, that's nice. So like, you're gonna go to U of C or Mount Royal? And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
so, like,
completely ruining that
Yeah.
like autonomy and excitement, that energy you have
Yeah.
to like migrate and like do something autonomous,
yeah,
you know?
literally. And it was just like, and that's when I realized like, it's not like the amount of work you put in. Like I thought maybe like it just takes a lot of planning. It just takes like, but like no matter the amount of planning, even now, like, okay, then how, like I can plan the shit out of where I'm gonna live, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna have access to healthcare right away. Or if I move provinces, like half of my equipment is owned by the government of Alberta.
Yeah, exactly.
So
My
what happens to
wheelchair
that?
is, yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's just not like, I genuinely don't know how to make it happen. So
Well, and it's just so heartbreaking when you finally have that discovery
Yeah.
of no amount of like individual advocacy and effort and like, you know, scholarships even.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people who have various scholarships and they still couldn't make the
Yeah.
grade to pay for what they have to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's deeply ingrained into our social structures that you know, despite things like freedom of movement being codified in our constitution,
for who?
people with disabilities absolutely don't have that right. You know, there are so many things that shackle us to the province.
But,
right?
like, okay, so I went to Montreal because it was one of, like, I don't know, 4 film production school degree programs in the country. The Alberta only had like film studies, right?
Yeah.
But if they'd had film production, obviously I would have gone to school at the U of A because that would have been easy and cheaper. Why don't you do grad studies at U of A?
Well, the reason for me was there's very specific programs. So like clinical psych is very different than counseling psych, which is different than, you know, what's called the PsyD. So there's different types of grad school, right? So the type of work that I wanted to be doing was clinical psych, but there's like maybe 3 schools in Canada and they're all over the place. So you have to go where your field is, right? So there's certain research interests that are codified to location because their faculty is invested in a certain topic, right? So if I wanted to go do research about people with disabilities, there are specific faculties that deal with that one specific thing.
But isn't there a point of compromise? And like, okay, so I it's not feasible for me to go to New York City and do this clinical stuff. But
Yeah.
there's got to be something you could do.
So this is a conversation about COVID-19 now, right? Because so many people with disabilities wanted access to distance learning opportunities, right? And we were always told by these institutional faculties that there was no way to make it work and that it was too much effort and you weren't getting what you needed out of the education, blah, blah, blah. Then COVID hit and it happened overnight. So now they all of a sudden had options. And you were in university when that transition happened. What was it like watching that?
I mean, it was like super fucked up because, like you said, like I had only been in university for a year. It was at the end of my first year that COVID happened, and like I remember just struggling. Like I was trying so hard to have a full course load, be on campus every day, and like it was exhausting me. Like truly, like the workload, like my brain could keep up, and that was great. And it was really frustrating that like my body could not. But I knew that if it was like delivered differently, like if I could like take one course at my own pace online, that would have helped a lot. But it happened immediately, and then everyone like complained about it for a bit, but then all of the abled started to get used to it, and they, oh, like this is nice, like, oh, I don't even have to leave my house. Oh,
Yeah,
like
I can wear my
oh,
pajamas
yeah, I
and
can wear my
attend class.
Oh, I'm comfy, like, oh, I wasn't feeling good, but I can still come to class. Like,
So the
class.
access things are helping everybody.
Yeah, everybody was loving it, and like that's the thing. It's just like I was watching that, and I was like, okay, so as soon as you need it, you get it. But like for years, when we're asking for it, it's like nobody needs that. Go fuck yourself.
Mhm.
So.
And then they transitioned away from it when they declared it over,
Yeah, and they
right?
took it away.
And then what happened to the university atmosphere after that? Did you feel safe in university when they pulled all the masking requirements?
No, even when there was masking requirements on campus, like students wouldn't wear them. Students, there was like this one little fucking bitch ass. Did I say that? Did I say that? He like would purposely like see me wearing my mask, like all masked up, like whatever, and like he would like pull his mask down over his mouth, and he would like wear it like that, just like in the hallway, like while I was waiting for class, and I would like make eye contact with him, and I would all the time be like, could you put your fucking mask on? And I'd be like, there's no one here. And then as soon as the prof would come by, he would put it on, because that was like one good prof. He was super good about enforcing the mask. Like he would not like let people contribute to class unless they had their mask on properly. And yeah, so it was just like so frustrating. Like people didn't give a shit. And yeah, I guess, yeah.
Well, and there's something frustrating about, it being so easy for an able-bodied person to just slap on a mask and, pull it down when they need to drink something and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, for me, I need an intermediary to, like, put it on my face, get it off my face when I need a drink, put it back on my face. Yeah. And then, I have bad heat regulation, so now I'm sweating infinitely.
That was the other thing, like, since COVID, so, like, I had COVID, I got it, and ever since then, like, my voice is, like, way weaker than it was before I had COVID, and I'm also, like, when I wear a mask, I can't, like, breathe, like, my breath is not strong enough to breathe through the mask, so I start, like, sweating, overheating, and, like, hyperventilating, and it's really, like, I went through a long time of, like, I don't know, like, I could go out without a mask, but, like, I'm not comfy doing that yet, and, like, I literally can't wear a mask at the moment because other people didn't care enough to, like, not give me COVID.
So, sorry, so you guys are both saying that COVID's real?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Sorry, I'm channeling my Joe Rogan podcast. It's my first podcast, guys. I'm sorry.
We got to do horse tranquilizer and snort gunpowder. That'll get
and Vermectin.
Yeah.
Ivermectin.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, like, and it's just the blatant disregard, and then, the minute they deem it over, all of a sudden they make it unsafe for us to attend. Yeah. And now all of those digital means are disappearing, right? So then it's just segregating us again, right? And it's super fucking frustrating to see that you can do something, see it implemented, and then see it ripped away. Yeah. Same thing with distance work, right? Being able to work from home again. That is something that really helped people with disabilities get unstratified from poverty because, oh, look, all of these job opportunities aren't requiring me to come into work. And it's just, clerical, bureaucratic, whatever.
Well, okay, maybe the silver lining of that stuff, though, in our industry in TV, COVID totally changed it, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Because why fly a bunch of editors to come to an office in St. Hotels when they can just remote edit? Like on our show, this is going to be remote edited. And so I think that opens it up to so many more possibilities wherever you are, whoever you are, what your accessibility is. If you have a computer that can edit, you can now work in TV. So that's, and it's still there. It's
funny because our industry is like one of the most progressive in a lot of aspects. The way that they militantly enforce things like representation, right? So if there's a grant for black filmmakers, right, you have to prove that the ownership of the company has a certain amount of black people who own the company, right? Because they saw that certain companies were getting around that by putting people in the lower aspects, right? That was one of the things they brought up when I was over at Hot Docs. And there's a lot of wisdom being shared in there, cares in the budget lines, right? So, giving people with disabilities the means, right? Even the continuity, right? If we at least had some kind of connection between provinces, it would open up our worlds pretty starkly, right? So what's your housing situation like? That's another thing that like really interferes with milestones, right? Being able to move out into your house. What was it like the first time you're like, I'm gonna move out with Jared, and try and strike it out on our own and have our own space that we can.
So first of all, Calgary is already like a shit show. There's no like open apartments. Like everything is like so expensive. It's awful. So with him, obviously, I'm the first cripple he's moved in with.
Lucky boy.
Yeah. So with him, it's just the way sometimes, not to say that men always do this, but sometimes men don't like to plan very much. Cough, cough. When you guys
I don't know what you're talking about.
You guys showed up 2 hours
I find
late.
the insinuation vaguely insulting.
Anyways.
I had to poop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. You had to poop. Anyway, so I was planning ahead. I was like, okay, as soon as we decided that's our plan. We're going to find an apartment. I was like, okay, we have to start looking now. And like, he very quickly, in like searching for apartments with me, started to realize, he was like, oh, this one's in our budget and it has none of the stuff that we need.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's in our budget and it's in a good spot in town. It doesn't have an elevator to get in. And like, so I think he really quickly realized, like, oh, it's not that easy. But we were still like optimistic, and we found a place that was in our budget in the part of town we needed. And I like sacrificed a lot because I knew it wouldn't be as comfortable.
100% accessible.
It wouldn't be 100% accessible. I thought I could make it work to the point where it would be comfortable, but everyone that works in like medical supply,
Yeah, all
whatever,
those intermediaries that they're paying to install shit and
they're paying to
buy
be
it.
useless.
Yeah.
Literally. So like, it was just a whole shit show. I signed a lease under the impression, well, not under the impression, I was like directly told from people who had checked out the space, like, we'll make this shower accessible for you. You will put in the lift, whatever. It took
Did
them,
you get it in writing or was it all verbal?
no, I have an email of them saying,
There you go.
yeah, we'll be able to put this in your space and whatever. And then they couldn't admit that they were stinky poo-poo dum-dum wrong. And they like just ignored me for months.
Yep.
And then after 4 months of me living in my apartment, paying way more than I can afford on rent, and not being able to shower in my own space, they finally were like, yeah, we can't do this. So like, let's try and figure something out, like something else out for you, I guess. So we've lived here, how long? It's been April, May, June, July, August. So 5 months. I haven't been able to shower in my own apartment. I have to
What?
drive across town.
fucked.
And just the last thing on that, an OT came to do like a yearly assessment, whatever, and I didn't ask her for her advice. I didn't ask her for help with this problem because I did not think she'd have any great solutions. But she asked me like, is your bathroom accessible to you? And I said no, because it's not. And she said, oh, like, what's the problem? And then her suggestion, like, she so like has said it with like a smile on her face and like so happy. She was like, yeah, well, like, you know, if it doesn't end up working out, like, maybe you could look into going to the YMCA to shower there. And I was like, sorry, you're getting paid to help disabled people, like, just live,
Yeah.
like, just the bare minimum.
And then they give you the wildest, just
Yeah.
dumb advice where
And,
they're
like,
like,
I
go use
did-
this public resource that
Literally.
probably 90% of the time doesn't even do what they
No,
think it
literally,
does.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. And like, it was just like, I was like, truly like, how dare you come into my house, look at me, ask me if it's accessible, and when you hear me say no, like, how dare you be like, well, try the YMCA. Like, shut
And
the
these are
hell up.
bureaucrats whose whole job it is to like whip
Yeah.
medical like intermediaries
Yeah.
into shape and
Yeah.
like get that shit for you, right? And the fact like it's just never a high priority for
Yeah.
them. They're like, oh well, you can deal for a while, and this is like how we end up getting
It's-
fucking institutionalized. I'm
Okay,
gonna do a quick
do a what?
follow up. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay, so you know you can't have a shower. You haven't showered in a week. You're upset. You get up pick up the phone and you call Crip Trip, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Danny, Fred, I need an accessible washroom. Okay, so the van RV pulls up. David Barron and David Puffer, camera guys, jump out with tools,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
And then we visitable. There's a good title here. I don't know it yet. And then we show up and we make people's houses accessible and visitable.
Yeah, do it.
That's a
I
new
feel.
show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
People watch that.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta get permission from my landlord first.
Yeah, and that's where people with disabilities really get fucked, because there's like micro grants and stuff that are one time, and it's like, am I gonna pull the trigger on this for a landlord, or do I
Yeah.
wait till I have my own space? You know,
But
so
at this point,
like,
it's like, I don't think I'll ever own my own space. Like, that's just not in the cards for me at this point.
right?
just-
It's ludicrous that I even have an accessible house, right? Like that thing
Well, they're
was
trying to get you out of the
crowdfunded.
house. This is the whole problem.
And then when you have it, they streamline you for institutionalization anyway. So it never really insulates you anyway. To kind of wrap things up, do you have any advice for disabled people, young disabled people who are kind of in your situation and like, you know, thinking about moving out or wanting to advocate for themselves to go to their friend's house party?
Like, so first thing, like, on the house party front, whatever, if you're, like, looking at all your peers, like, complete these milestones, and, like, in high school, for me at least, I was seeing this and I was like, wow, I must be, like, a fucking loser. Like, I must not be cool enough to go to the house parties like everyone's doing. That's not true. I'm cool as fuck. And, like, even, like, the internet, like,
verified.
I was allowed, yeah, like I was like, I sort of learned that because like people that like I wouldn't like go to house parties with, they would Snapchat me and they would talk to me all day long. Like they would like, because accessibility wasn't like an issue there, and they also probably didn't have to like look me in the face and be like,
The
disabled.
digital spaces were actually accessible
Yeah,
to you, which
they
is
were.
what we saw during the disability renaissance during COVID, where we all
Exactly.
found each other.
Exactly. So I would say if you think that you're like not cool or not smart enough or whatever for like whatever you're wanting to do, like that's absolutely not true. Hop on the internet, find other disabled people that like are in a similar situation to you, and like whether that's like the same like mobility aids that they use or like the same level of care, like whatever it is, find those people and like remind yourself, because you wouldn't look at them and say, oh, you're lazy, oh, you're not cool, oh, you're not smart enough, because you know that they are, and just like remind yourself that that's you. And then for people who want to move out, I would say please try your hardest, because like that's the only way that it's ever going to be made possible, is like if the disabled people with like more resources, more like of a platform, more sway for whatever reason, like if you start normalizing it and like making it through that struggle when you can, that's the only way that it'll ever be possible for people with less resources.
And they
like,
have to see you. They
Yeah.
have to see you getting ornery and angry and
Exactly.
trying to fit in, get in those spaces. Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, I don't know, everyone who wants to do it has to do it, and it sucks, and everything when you're disabled is extra hard, but like I just know so many people who like have given up trying because it's so exhausting. And I guess just
To
like
explain access needs over
Yeah.
and over and over
and
again.
like just like don't just automatically give up on something because you think it'll be hard. Like give it a go.
And the people worth keeping around want to help you.
Yeah. And that's it. Like
That's
the
how I
people-
got 5 degenerates in a van going with me across country
No,
for
literally,
a month.
because they're smart enough to like recognize that you have cool shit that you need to get done, and like they're gonna help you get that shit done, because otherwise they're missing out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm wondering if I have any advice. Yeah, advocate for yourself. Yeah, put yourself out there, right? Like the worst you can hear is no, and then you know that person you learn something either way. Maybe that person's not worth keeping around. Maybe maybe there's a shift you can do.
But also like let it radicalize you. Like don't like be like thinking like, oh, this is just the way it is. Like that's really shitty for me.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, that's super fucked up.
Yeah.
That this is the way it is. I should be able to like have the same rights as everyone else and move to a different province.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, like don't like try to like brush it off as like
Yeah, it's easy to internalize the inaccessibility
Yeah.
that people throw at you
Yeah.
and be like, "This is a me problem."
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a community's problem, right? Other people with the same rights are not, dealing with any of these, added challenges. And if we do truly believe in egalitarian society and constitutional fairness and all of these things, then it's got to show up in policy, and we got to have access to these things.
Well, and I guess for all my able-bodied homies out there, some words of advice.
All 3 of you.
Party at my house later. No, yeah, I think that,
so we're not invited.
Is your house accessible?
There's one-
I don't think it is.
Caught in 4K.
read about the political parties in your province. Go join one of them, and we can create change by being active in our political community.
Yeah, when they know there's a vested interest in, lighting a fire under their ass, when they see that people actually give a shit about these issues, that's when change actually happens. Which is why we stir shit up so often in this province. We're becoming a bit of a problem characters for these
If
politicians.
people don't know, honestly, since meeting you, all of this stuff is new. I didn't understand.
There's so much hidden bureaucracy.
But
right?
no, just the idea of an accessible washroom, I didn't get it until yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't get it until you're physically there and you're in the space and you're like, whoa, how does the world work?
So many accessibility standards are done by bare minimum,
Yeah. Well, and also, like, if you think, like, if you're abled and you, like, come across these issues and you're like, would you accept that for yourself? Or, like, your
Yeah.
family? Like, and if you're, like, thinking, you're like...
Would you go to a party where you couldn't use the washroom?
Would you go to, like, if you would find that unacceptable for yourself, then, like, you should be pissed off that it's happening to, like, your friend or your neighbor or, like, the people around you. So, like, talk about it and, like, get mad about it and, like, just, like, complain about it as much as you can. Like, I don't know. That's the only way.
Let them have no peace.
Yeah, literally.
And yeah, by being annoying and, you know, stirring shit up, that is how we most efficiently affect change, right?
Punk rock.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
Well, y'all, it was lovely chatting with you. Thank you for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
Erin, keep continuing to roast us on the internet.
I will. I can do that. I will say I might live in this RV now
You know
because
what?
that is a very steep ramp. So I might be one with, what do we call her? Roxanne? Gertrude? Whatever.
Roxanne,
Aaron?
Aaron.
No,
butcher?
scrap Aaron. Aaron the I've always wanted to be a butcher. So, anyways, thanks for having me.
No problem. We will be in contact through social media and otherwise.
They will never be able to escape me.
And that's it for Crip Trip.
And you can watch our show
On
Crip Trip, on AMI
TV.
and later on TVO. So please check it out. AMITV.com. No, .ca. Dot something. It's right here on the screen.
We definitely know URLs.
That's good.
We should look that up.
Watch on AMI TV or stream for free on AMI Plus.
TVO, Media Education Group. Catapult Pictures. Looking for more Crip Trip? Stream the series now on AMI Plus.